I've talked a lot about the things that I think are most important for small business owners to do, but today I'm going to talk about what I think the number one most important accounting and finance activity is that you can perform as a small business owner, and that is budgeting. It's so important going into a new business or even just a new year, new quarter, new month, knowing where your money is going to go, or at least having an expectation, a realistic expectation for where it's going to go, and how much money you're going to make so that you can strategize and plan accordingly. Now, today I'm going to walk you through a budgeting tool that I've put together. I'm going to make it available on my website for free. I just want to help small business owners any way I can. So I put together a budgeting tool that we're going to walk through. And if you have any questions on it, comments, I'd love to hear from you. So on this episode 7 of What is Accounting and How Do I Do It, we're talking budgeting. Here we go. Now, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I'm Sean. I've been a CPA for 14 years. I've seen a lot of different businesses. And one thing that I've consistently seen at all the businesses that do really well is they have a very well structured budgeting process. They know exactly where their money is going to go, and they regularly measure their actual results against that budget to see how they're doing, how they're tracking. And if they're not tracking against their budget, they will update it. So it's not like a set it and forget it type activity. It's something that you want to do early on and often, and continuously update it throughout the year as you're going through, and make sure that it's up to date and accurate for what's going on with your business. So this is the workbook that I put together to help you with this. It's pretty simple, and I tried to lay it out in a way that just took you through in step-by-step format. So this is just an overview tab telling you what this is for, why budgeting is important. You can read this on your own, but I'm going to jump right in. So what I did was I built out an input tab. So this is where you're going to input all the information that's going to feed your budget. So for example, this first box, this is step 1, and I got these little pop-up boxes over here that walk you through this. But this is your product or service pricing and costing for the most part. There's other things in this box which I'll talk about, but this is setting your price. What are you selling your product for? What's it cost you? And it says link to data below because there's an input box below right here, these 2 and 3, where coming up with the cost for your product or service is not as simple as you might think. Sometimes there's lots of components that go into that. For example, if you are ordering if you have like a white label product that you're making a slight adjustment to and then putting your branding on for sale, you're going to have like the manufacturing cost for that, the shipping, handling, import dues, if you're ordering from another country and it's being shipped to you. And then there may be other costs that are necessary to get that product in saleable form. And so those are costs that are all part of your product costing. And so that's what this is intended to do, really break it down in simple form for you, so that you can figure out exactly how much money you expect to make, based on how many units you're going to sell. So you're just, putting in how much do you think you're going to sell in your first month here. That's what that is. Your pricing, a product or service. If you don't have a product or you don't have a service, you just put 0 in for whatever that is. And these numbers are made up. I just did this for to walk you through this. So it's kind of difficult to walk through when all the numbers are showing as 0. So this one, just a little drop down. If you're just selling whole units, you're gonna want to round to the nearest whole unit. That's all I've done there. Otherwise, the numbers are gonna look a little weird in the budget, but I'll show you what that looks like because I'm not rounding here, so you'll see. How much money you contributed to your business initially, like if it's a new business or if it's an existing business and you expect to have to contribute some of your own personal money. That's something I put in here just so you can see a break-even analysis. If you have any financing, there's a option for your payment here, so that you can compute how much of your operating cash flow, how much coverage you have of that loan payment with your operating cash flow every month. How much room do you have? And this last piece, I'm not going to run through everything in detail because it's pretty laid out in these steps, but this I did want to talk about. So this annual income tax rate that I have here, this is an assumption, so this is just, I recommend getting as granular as you can here, so if you have to ask your tax accountant what your effective tax rate was for the previous year, that's a good number to use. But if you don't know that, or if you're just starting out, I would just look up the federal statutory tax rate. I forget what it is now. It's like 20%, I think. And then add whatever your state statutory tax rate is, so it might be, 5, 6, 7%. If you're in New Hampshire, it's 0. But that's what I would use just so you have a general idea of what your tax is. It's not going to be perfect, but excluding it all together, kind of is going to skew your final results a bit. So like I said, there's some costing in here, hourly rate, if you have some employees that are helping you to deliver your service. There's materials or subcontractor quotes. Your costing may be a lot more complicated than this. If you're a contractor for, building homes or something, for instance, you probably have there's a lot more to that than what I'm showing here, but this gives you the general idea of how you would do that. And these last two sections are overhead. And if you have other expense lines that you want to put in here, what I would recommend is just in the spreadsheet, because it's not locked, so you can just, modify it. I would just insert a line and then type it in, but do it above other so that this formula, because this is all formula driven. So you don't want to mess with the sums and stuff. So if you insert a line in the middle here, it'll automatically update the sum and you'll be good. And this last box is how much do you expect these expenses to grow every month? And it might be 0. So if it is, just change all these to 0. And you'll be good. All right. So once you're done inputting all this stuff, and by the way, anything highlighted blue, that means you have to manually put it in. The stuff that's not highlighted is linked. See how it's linked here? So after this is done, you go to your annual budget tab, and I have a little note here that tells you how to lock the cells. You can lock the formulas by protecting the sheet, and this tells you how to do that, just so you don't inadvertently make a change here when you're going through. So this is all formula driven. Once you go through this input tab, it's going to produce this, which looks a lot like an income statement by month, all 12 months, and I have a full year over here as well. So that's just summing across. And what this does is it says, okay, based on how many units you said that you thought you would sell, this is what your revenue will be. This is what your cost of the product or delivering the service was based on those number of units. And here's your gross margin, your gross profit margin. Then you had input all your overhead costs. So that's where that's pulling from here. And then that computes your income before taxes. And then based on your tax rate that you input, it's just multiplying that tax rate by this income here to get net income. And then I've got some helpful ratios down here. So you had input your loan payment. That helps to say, okay, how much coverage do you have of that? In this case, a lot. 14 times your operating cash flow, EBITDA, that, kind of a shortcut method to get that is 14.12 times the amount of your monthly payment. So you're good. You're doing good. And then you got gross profit margin in here. That is your gross profit divided by total revenue. That's how you compute that. And then I have net profit margin in here. Same, very similar formula, except it's your net income divided by your total revenue. And so that's pretty much it. And then I have this last little line in here. Like I said, if you contributed anything to your business initially, plan to, or plan to for this upcoming year if you're already in business. This just helps show you how many months to break even you are. In this case, with the fake numbers I put in here, it was November, the 11 months to get to a break even point, or 10 and a half. It's not a perfect cutoff there. So that's it. I put this together. It's to help you. And if it's not helpful, or it's missing something that you would like to have included, just shoot me a message. Either comment on this video, or if you subscribe to my newsletter, which is where I'm going to make this available. So you'll subscribe, and then you'll have a link after subscribing to where you can download it for free. So after you've downloaded it and you've signed up to my newsletter, you can just, you'll get an email from me saying, hey, thanks for signing up. And you can just reply to that email if you want. I don't send any spam email, nothing. I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is just, I just want to help small businesses any way I can. So making this available for free for that reason. And I hope you like it. Like I said, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, which is where you will find this, you can see that at ledgerready.work. That'll take you to the sign up page. You just input your email, sign up, and you'll see a link to download this file. All right, see you next time.